Now I'm doing a more strict version of carnivore and it's easy for me, but that wasn't the case in the beginning. I would have said the same thing. Like, I'm not going to go without, bread and dessert every now and again. Ice cream's fine. Like, you
Right.
do need to help give people hope that that is a type of progression. So I'm curious, like going back 27 years, you're right, not a lot of internet at all. How were you able to learn any of this stuff? And what was it that made you say, okay, these are the bad things. So now what am I going to go eat?
Well, I knew what I couldn't have. And there was a diet called Atkins, keto. And so I did that. And I was, still in high school. Everybody thought I couldn't do it. And just being like the stubborn person that I am, if you say I can't do something, oh, you watch out. And what's interesting is when you do cut out sugar or carbohydrates, the people that are closest to you, they try to have you fail. Like they're afraid of you changing in a bad way, but it's like, no, I'm changing for I'm sick. I want to be better, and so whenever like my mom made me my favorite pie, like it just gave me the willpower to be like, nope, I don't need that. And so I went to school for nutrition and exercise physiology, and I met Craig when I was only 17. He was much older than I was, but I was 17. I was married before I could legally drink alcohol. And he knew I was like, I was told I couldn't have my own kids. He's like, that's fine. We're going to adopt. So we just started adopting. And I was a rock climbing guide right out of college just because I was going to be a stay-at-home mom. I was just waiting for the adoption to go through. And he lost his job, which I didn't have insurance. So whenever you lose like job insurance and all of that health insurance and stuff, your adoption, all the money goes back to zero basically, because they have to redo all those tests. So not only did we have a job loss, we lost all that money. Like the depression came back hard. Like we sold our cars. The bank took our house. Like we had nothing. And someone said, Maria, why don't you write some of your recipes in a book to raise money for your adoption? I was like, okay, like I just needed something to look forward to. And they're like, you're going to start a blog. I was like, what's a blog? Like, this was like before blogs were even out there. And I was like, okay. And it gave me a reason to ride my bicycle to the library because I didn't own a computer. And I would write. It gave me a reason to wake up. Like I needed a reason to look forward to. And I would write, a recipe on the blog and I'd have these comments. And I'm like, oh, this is nice. I look forward to it and stuff. And it was all for my children. Like every dime went to the adoption. And before you knew it, Craig's like, I don't think I need a job. Like, and he's like, there's a lot that happened in between there, but he's like, I'm going to be the stay-at-home dad and you're going to be the working mom. I was like, okay. Cause I really loved it by that time. I started a business consulting people. That's what I went to school for. And I never once spent a dime on advertising. I still haven't. And it was all word of mouth. And I feel that that's very powerful because like, there's a lot of keto so-called experts and carnivore experts doing a lot of advertising. And I was like, nope, I don't want to do that because I want people to be confident in what I do because of somebody else's success.
Yeah. And they also want to skip the process. They want to skip all the hard bits so they can get right to selling the books and hanging out with Halle Berry like you get to. Like we just look at that and think like, oh, she's so lucky, like she got to that point. It's like no, she worked her ass off and probably clipped coupons to get a meal from time to time. Like it's that struggle, that fight is what makes you strong, and then you appreciate it so much more when you're able to get there.
Well, like what's the cheapest keto food or was? Eggs?
Probably, right?
Right. Like way back when we first adopted the boys, eggs, that was a rule. One of our meals had to be eggs because that was very, very cheap at the time. Like you get a dozen eggs for $1, right? The neighbor sold them for $1, her, free range chickens. And so my son, my youngest, hated eggs. He would not, I told you he was like starving, but he would not eat eggs. That was the one thing. He's like, I made him every single different way. All the different ways there's millions of ways to make eggs. So one day I had a bunch of hard-boiled eggs. I was like, I'm going to throw these into a blender. I threw them into a blender with a can of coconut milk, some cocoa powder, stevia, vanilla, and a little pinch of cinnamon. And I blended that up. And you want to have a good blender, make it really smooth, but it made the best chocolate pudding and I couldn't get them to stop. And I made it for Halle Berry. Since you're dropping her name, I'll drop her name. I made it for Halle Berry. She's like, nope, I am not going to eat that. And I was like, just try it. Just try it. And she tried it. And she was like, this is the best chocolate mousse I've ever had. And, you know, you just have to be, I don't know. I like playing with food and seeing what you can come up with. Cause I still don't think, yeah, there's billions of recipes out there, but we haven't come up with everything yet, you know, like proving that with the pudding, or like, have you tried the carnivore bread yet?
I haven't yet. I know you talk about it all the time, and it looks really good.
It's like Wonder Bread. It's unbelievable, you know, like, but again, you have to make it. You can't buy this at the store, and you'll never be able to buy it at the store. But like you said, people complain about the cost of, or the time of eating. What's interesting, Craig and I, we put our cameras on, and we both drove to, or he drove to Chipotle while I made Chipotle at home. This was probably, I don't know, 14 years ago or something. And Chipotle wasn't that far. It was like, I don't know, 4 or 5 miles away. And it wasn't a busy time. It was about 2:30 in the afternoon. And we were like, okay, we both put a timer on, see how much time it takes. And then we also broke down the cost. Not only by the time he came home with the food, I was done cooking, we were done eating, and we cleaned up already. We had leftovers, and it was about a fourth of the price, even though we used organic or beef. So it's not cheaper, it's not healthier, it doesn't save you time, but people are lazy.
Yep. Yep. It sucks. Eggs are a great example. Like, yeah, they have gone up in price. They used to be very cheap. They're a little bit less cheap now, but I can go to Costco and buy two
Okay.
dozen for $7. And that will give me about 2 or 3 meals if I'm eating, 8, 9, 10 at a time. That's not that expensive. It's not
No,
that expensive. Yeah.
it's not.
It
It's not.
and people, I feel for people because all of this information is just stacked against them. I mean, one of my clients that I trained today just got the information about the Tufts Food Compass stuff, and he was like, "This thing says that like Fruit Loops are healthier than ground beef. Like, where did this come from?" Like, dude, welcome to nutrition science. Welcome to the world of nutrition science. One of the most respected nutrition schools in the country is saying like brand names of cereal are better for you than eggs or beef.
Wow, I
Uh,
didn't even know that. That's sad. I would be really embarrassed if I worked at Tufts.
I
Really
would
embarrassed.
too. I would too, but that's what people see. And so that's their impression. And they see it and they go, see, I knew it. I knew eggs weren't good. I knew beef wasn't good. They already told me beef caused cancer. I knew this. Let me go back to eating my cold cereal and bread and sandwiches. And it's bananas. It's absolutely crazy. And it's interesting for you being in this world for so long. You've seen the rise of keto. I mean, how long do you think it was before you came across the word keto, ketones, ketogenesis? Like it must have been a
It
while
was
before
probably,
you.
yeah, it was probably like 10, 12 years in.
Yeah.
And at first I was very excited, right? But then I was like, I don't want to be keto anymore. I don't want to call myself that anymore, because it was like Duncan Hines has a keto brownie now, and the keto bread at Costco, and like all of this crap and junk. And then all these people come out of the woodwork claiming they're an expert and preaching that you need to eat this way. And I'm like, no, that's not right. And I don't know. It's just, yeah, it's frustrating because I think that there's a lot of bad advice and it's hard to swim through all of it.